We all know that the penetration of e-commerce in India is still minuscule. There's still a long way to go. And that presents a great opportunity for students who have an inherent academic or analytical bent of mind, but also have the excitement of solving real world problems. The older traditional models of relying on 4 years of historical data for making a forecast are not relevant in all industries. Today the world changes much faster, right? Every 6 months fashions change, trends change, it's the Gen Z is actually maybe driving the demand.
There were consulting roles, there were analyst roles that sir was talking, but again these roles are going into they are even visiting engineering colleges for those roles. Then what are we management colleges going to do what engineering colleges are not?
Alright, as you can see, we are right now sitting in the auditorium at the Mahe Bangalore campus. We are at TAPME Bangalore, as you can see, and these gentlemen who are sitting with me today are going to tell you more about the program that you can see, which is the MBA in Technology Management. Very, very warm welcome, guys. Thank you very much for joining us in for this particular session. What we are trying to do with this particular session is to understand what exactly you guys have incorporated in the program that we call the MBA in Technology Management. I welcome all of you. Let's start with defining who you are, giving a gist of what you have done in your life, and telling our audience why they should be hearing you today.
Right. So my journey to TAPME as a professor, I'm Professor Rahul Dighe. I joined about a year back. I was very excited to hear about the upcoming technology management program, which is what actually drew me to TAPME. So prior to this, about 3 or 4 years, I have been in academia teaching in a variety of institutes, teaching supply chain management and technology management. Prior to that, spent about 2.5 decades in the software industry and the supply chain management industry, and that was post my doctorate at Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Cambridge, Boston. And I started as a mechanical engineer, sort of drifted into software and got very interested in how software can help people solve their day-to-day problems, starting with engineering and then sort of drifted towards supply chain management. I also had my own small startup about 20 years back here in Bangalore, Indiranagar. So pretty much been on the side of creating technology and commercializing it and making it useful for people.
I'm going to come to you, Selvaraj, for your introduction to our audience.
Okay. So just to introduce myself, I have a long experience in the industry. In fact, I joined TAPME in the last 3 years. I have been with TAPME Manipal campus, teaching subjects in the area of IT and analytics. And my core subject which I offer is IT consulting and business analysis and analytic courses. Prior to joining TAPME, I have been with the, initially I started my career with ISRO, where I spent about a decade building systems for the spacecraft. Then I moved into, I got interested in multimedia and the technologies that were coming up at that time. And I moved into a company called Sasken Technologies, where I spent 2 decades, initially doing engineering management roles, building solutions, starting from IP development to projects with services component and IP component delivering to customers. And the second half of my career with Sasken, I played different roles in different corporate functions. And this has given me an interest into the business management functions, and that motivated me to do a PhD in management. And then after doing my PhD from Indore IIM, I got interested and I moved into academics. So that's in brief about my journey.
Surya, will move to you. Let's talk about you.
Yeah, good evening everyone. I'm Surya Mahadevan. I worked in corporate for about 30 years before transitioning to academics. In corporate, I started my career in FMCG sales and marketing, and then in the later part of my corporate career, I was working with telecom companies, managing sales, marketing, channel, retail, and then towards the later part of my career, I was heading the operations for a telecom circle. So when I joined telecom, it was about 4% tele density, and in a matter of about 15 years, from 4% teledensity, we moved to something like 80% teledensity. So, that was the most exciting journey in telecom. And then in 2015, I joined the API Management Institute at Manipal. So, I was with the TAPME Manipal institution till last year, and in 2023, I moved to the TAPME Bangalore campus.
Abhishek, you know, you're sitting with probably a pool of experience who has experience of teaching for years now, and I'm assuming you are not from that fraternity, but yeah.
So I'll introduce myself as a person who is more into training rather than teaching. So these the professor takes care of the entire content part. I primarily, me and my team take we take care of the skill development part, right? So if you talk about me, I have around 25 years of experience into skill development and career counseling.
You have your eyes and ears with the industry because you have been working with them for the longest time. You said that there are changes definitely that are taking place that you have seen yourself as well, right? Can you list down a few changes that you probably have seen that this particular course is willing to handle or address so that the the blips that are there can be filled?
So I'll start with something which was quoted in Three Idiots, right? So somebody who wants to become a banker, why is he doing engineering, right? So somebody who has done engineering, why is the need that he comes to do an MBA, right? So right now industry is looking forward for people who can manage technology rather than, there is a lot of talent there who can produce technology, right? Who can do coding, who can do the development part of it, but there are very few manpower available there who can manage and consult companies on how to use technology for a sustainable development. So if you look at the NASSCOM report, 3 skill sets that are going to really boom in the coming years is, of course, sustainability, right? Second thing is management of technology, and the third is resilience. And I'm proud that we are able to offer all these 3 things in our courses, right? Be it of course we have been doing that for centuries now, decades now, and in fact in BBA honors we have been able to address it a bit. Now it's time that we move to the experience lot and start delivering the same thing what the industry is requiring.
Rahul, I told you that I'm going to come back to you with respect to the changes that are happening probably, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the domain-wise changes that we are seeing. Surya was talking about the kind of boom that happened in the telecom world, and we all have witnessed it and have seen it. But supply chain is something that probably goes, under the table. We don't see it as much because we are what we are caring more about is how that 10-minute delivery is coming at my doorstep, and not thinking about where these dark stores are and how they are operating and what is the technology behind it. And for somebody who's working on these kind of setups now, it's very imperative and important to understand where we have come in from and where we are at the moment. So if you can shed some light on that.
Sure, sure. I think the last 2 bits that you said are very relevant, because about a decade back when e-commerce really started to take off, right? That is when I think one major shift happened, and the second shift happened due to COVID. So the first shift, according to me, that happened, where earlier supply chain management was more focused on purchasing and delivering goods on time and things like that. Like you said, not at the forefront. But what started happening a decade back was the demand point shifted. Borders opened for trade. Today, when you order something on Amazon or eBay, you don't actually know where it is coming from, right? So people actually are trading more freely. So forecasting demand has become that much more difficult for companies, and that poses a new challenge. So new challenges for gurus in supply chain area, not only the mathematicians, not only the technologists, but also for management, astute managers, to figure out how you can use technology very quickly to the ever-changing sort of playing field. And with COVID, again, like I said, a new set of challenges emerged. There was a lot of inventory lying idle in various places. How do you monetize it? Stuff like that, right? So, supply chain management, the field has taken a sort of, it's come to the forefront once more with the advent of e-commerce and areas like that. If we read any of the reports or if we look at some numbers, we all know that the penetration of e-commerce in India is still minuscule. There's still a long way to go. And that presents a great opportunity for students who have an inherent academic or analytical bent of mind, but also have the excitement of offering, solving real world problems, right? And that is where I think our course clearly is designed to offer excitement and challenges and opportunity, pivoting opportunity to students of that nature. So not the ones who want to be deep down in equations, but this area, to come back to your question in supply chain management, really offers a great opportunity for students who have a bit of an analytical bent of mind, but then actually want to use that to solve real world challenges. How do you structure, where do you locate storages so that it is most efficient? Where do you, how do you react to fashion changes, for example? I mean, we were, if you remember 20 years back, companies like Raymond's would produce trousers of the same cut for years together. And people of my age, now I feel disturbed that I can't just go walk into a store like a typical man I would like to do, walk into a store and walk out in 5 minutes because the cuts keep changing. Now, why is that happening? Because the companies are trying to compete and offering new stuff and all that. So the world there's a lot of excitement in terms of new product introduction, which has to be backed by supply chain, strong supply chain management. I mean, one can look at cases like IKEA, how Zara, they do it. Zara produces, puts a garment on the shelves from 15 days of conceptualization. That's really, really fast. Okay. So, it's a field of a lot of excitement.
And do you think that data also becomes imperative and people learning about data and data analytics become very, very important in this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the older models of, say, forecasting, managing inventory are getting challenged, let me say. I can't say go to the extent of saying that they're becoming redundant, because we still have lots of brick and mortar industries, but the older traditional models of relying on 4 years of historical data for making a forecast are not relevant in all industries. Today the world changes much faster, right? Every 6 months fashions change, trends change, it's the Gen Z is actually maybe driving the demand, right? So to cater to their whims and fancies, there is an opportunity for AI and analytics, rapid deployment of AI systems. So you can no longer talk about, and that's where the astute managers, their roles are prominent and important, right? You can't be hung up on finding out the best second decimal answers, right? It's important to find the integers and the first decimal in a quick amount of time using the technology available to you, and that technology will change a year down the road and you will replace it. So it's the guys who have that astuteness, and those are the ones that we are looking to groom and give them the necessary sort of, what should I say, the foundation of knowing all facets of management, finance, accounting, the traditional management, which people like me did not have, and we struggled because of that, right? So we want to give them that, arm them with the current technologies, and then they can pick specializations that they like.
With respect to the IT industry as such, because you've been part of that industry, what kind of changes are you seeing? What kind of requirements or demands are you seeing? Probably you are seeing it from a outside perspective now, but you probably are having an idea at this point in time that these are the kind of skills that are required within the IT roles also that these people are hiring for.
Overnight, Symbian operating system, which people the younger generation may not even know that such a thing existed, was overnight, replaced by Android, and the market went down. So, in fact, in my organization, we had a large number of people working on Symbian projects, but the CTO and the team around that, they had seen the Android coming, and we had started training very early before the projects were ramped down and we moved to Android. So that is something which is happening, and it is happening much faster today. And it is the word is disruption. I mean, it is not just incremental changes anymore. So in fact, when we prepare people as an institute, I think we are preparing people for jobs that are not even known today. So in TAPME we have that belief, and we always say, and Surya will agree with me, he has been the placement chair when I just joined. I mean, we believe that we are not getting jobs for people, we are helping them build careers. That goes to this basic that we have to equip them with the basic skills and competencies which will help them to build their career.
Right. Abhishek, before I start talking about the program, I just want to understand from you, from tech perspective, right, that we are talking about in this conversation. In your opinion or in your experience, have you seen companies also opening up with that speed that they want to focus on tech-enabled personalities more, or do you think that there is some some sense of we'll wait and watch and then we'll see how the industry is operating and then we'll probably hire these people?
So I'll tell you, I'll give you an example here. So, around pre-COVID, right, there were certain basic jobs that were there in the market, right, and I'll say to this extent they still exist, but I'll tell you how exactly it has changed. So there were jobs in sales, there were jobs in marketing, there were jobs in finance, there were jobs in HR, operations, right. These were the basic structures,
Right.
right. These basic structures still exist. Now, what has changed is the change has happened if you are a sales, if they are going to hire you as a management trainee in the sales domain, right, they will ask the students to be more predictive in nature, right. When I'm talking about prediction is what Surya sir was saying,
Yeah.
how exactly you can predict sales, how exactly you can predict change, how exactly you can predict the competition better, right. In terms of HR, if you are going for earlier, they used to hire management trainees for talent acquisitions roles. These people were supposed to manage talent acquisition. Now there is a field that has come into is called employer branding, right. Now you have to be digitally active to engage with your potential employee even before he is hired, right. So you have to position your organization in a way that it is acquiring the best talents. So I will say it is more of a mixed and match approach that they are looking at, and technology of course plays. The past data will tell him what the future talent will, what kind of forecasting he is going to do. Finance, again I'll talk about, there are there were consulting roles, there were analyst roles that sir was talking, but again these roles are going into they are even visiting engineering colleges for those roles. Then what are we management colleges going to do what engineering colleges are not? So we are training them to become more industry ready in terms of being more predictive in nature, using data to interfere, to forecast things better and accurate. And unless and until you do that, you know how to use technology, you can't do it.
What makes this particular program different from, say, 10 other programs that are available right now?
So first, let me compare this with a normal MBA, because we are also in the, we are also offering normal MBA programs, right? Now, if we delayer it again a little bit, the professional skills, there is a practice, management practice, so which is where Abhishek was talking about HR, finance and this functional expertise. So there is a business process underneath, so people are trained and equipped to understand the business process and be able to contribute in organizations. Then around this, there are some best practices. Once you start doing this, you know that there are these best practices and there are tools. And these best practices and tools make you do this job much better. And this whole thing becomes more industry centric. Initially you are a very general purpose practitioner and then you become industry specific practitioner. So this is the gamut of things that at a little later stage people become specific to an industry, and then they have in their the assets for them will be all these best practices and tools. Now in a typical management degree, what we do is we cover the business practices and we also layer them with the necessary best practices and tools wherein technology is introduced good extent. And over and above that, the industry flavor is brought in to the extent possible in an academic setting, right. They go for internships in the middle of the program wherein they get exposure to industry, and they also get live projects in TAPME, so they get exposure to that. So with all this combination, and even we go to the extent of offering internal consulting projects. We have, as any other organization, we have internal problem solving situations. So we give those problems even in academic courses, saying that go solve this problem.
Can we try and understand this with one example? So, for example, a company has an X problem. Define that problem also in your answer maybe, and how somebody who has gone through this program will be a better suited person to solve that issue.
Yeah, so maybe I can give you an example. So this is a real one. About a year back, a friend of mine who runs a company, they build chatbots, and they have built a corpus of 5-6 different chatbots, some with fair amount of overlap, sold to 5-6 companies individually. Now what they want to do is they want to scale. So they are looking for a management graduate. They were looking for essentially person who has energy, understands technology. Specifically, what is the requirement? Job requirement. Job requirement says you will come in here, create a marketing script to be given to either maybe high school grads or people who are not technologists, to do cold calling to various companies and say that this is what we can offer to you for your company as chatbots. Now and this person who has this job has to create the script according to what the company has as a corpus of chatbots. That person has to look at the target companies, understand what their requirements could be, and then create a script, right. So look at the skill sets that are required. You need to understand marketing, how marketing works. You need to understand how telecalling, maybe that part works. You need to understand the specific sector. If you are targeting a bank, you need to understand how a bank should work, what a customer of a bank is looking for in a chatbot. You need to know what the state of the art in AI vis-a-vis chatbots is concerned. Now, the industry, the startups especially, are no longer, startups have never been, and they are not tolerant of people who will say that this is my box, right, and I will operate within that. Correct? They want this guy to be all in one, and they are not expecting that you are an expert in AI. They are not expecting that person to be a have masters in AI. Right? But the quick thinking of what's available, where can it be sold, and what's the gap. So once you identify the gap and then say that, okay, this is a gap we need to actually go back and build on. So he is essentially a businessman. Now this is the part that we will arm these people with, which is you have knowledge of basic management practices, finance, marketing, banking industry, how these industries work, technologies, a set of technologies, and you never know which company you will work for, where what technology could spring up, right. So breadth 101 in those technologies is what they will have, and then they can choose, for pragmatism, they can choose, or maybe their own liking, either finance or supply chain management or healthcare, those domains.
How do you think that industry personnel who will come in here and teach these people will actually add on to the experiences? Because this is something that probably all of the B schools that are coming up with, they have woken up to, because they have all understood the importance of trying and understanding the sense of the market, trying and understanding as to where these people are coming in from, and as Abhishek was mentioning, what are the needs that are emerging as well. So with that regard, how strong do you think this course is going to be?
So industry practitioners, in a very natural, in a class setting, you are introducing some concepts, then you are talking about how to apply those concepts in some controlled setting, and then you generalize it typically with a case pedagogy, that there is a real world setting, and in which this is the context, and then this is how, or the class is given the problem to address as a group. So this is a classical setting. In this setting, now if a person is coming with industry background, then going beyond this case study method, right, the industry practitioner can come up with examples on the fly, right, saying some real world situation. You introduce a concept, then immediately 10 different examples of use cases, as he mentioned, will occur to the person. So there is this identification of potential application of these concepts comes very naturally to them, and it is also current, because case studies even even though as good faculty members we take pains to pick up case studies which are very current and recent, and we look into all those aspects before choosing a case study for a course. But in spite of all this, nothing like things that are happening on the field. Somebody who is working somewhere, coming and talking about something, of course in abstract manner. So that helps in students getting some immediate real world application scenario and use cases visibly to them. And also it is interesting because they can pull out examples which are very pointed to that particular point that they want to drive at.
We have the chief business officer of ONDC himself who has agreed that okay, he would love to take e-commerce as a session, right? Now imagine the chief business officer of ONDC coming and interacting with students who have already got an exposure into e-commerce because they are already 2 to 7 years of experience, and they are studying under him, and he is giving real life cases of how ONDC is changing things. Now imagine the kind of input these e-commerce folks will add to it, and I really don't know what kind of wonders can be created in these classes, and maybe the campus placement can happen there and then, right? So that's where the addition comes. Now if the same ONDC guy goes to a normal MBA fresher kind of setup, it would be mostly one way orientation, wherein he will tell what wonders ONGC has created, and people will say wow, and they will go back to their home. There will not be enough brainstorming in the class.
Thank you very much to all four of you for taking your time and talking to us and giving these nuggets to all our students who probably have gotten a gist of what exactly this particular program entails and what if they do it, where do they stand in their respective lives. If you want to know more about this program, there is a link in the description, go check that out. Do tell us in the comments below if you have any further questions that we could not cover in this conversation about this program, and share this video with someone who probably is looking for a technical and management amalgamation in their program. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And